And I'm going to leave the, yeah.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Joining Enlightened group to look at a desire from the movie The Shack. Oops. Let me go over here and so we're in through the second movie in a 3-movie Miracles and Movies marathon, and we watched The Walk. What did we watch the first time? The Room. I'm sorry, we watched The Room, The Walk, The Shack.
The Walk?
Yeah, The Walk. Yes, we watched. We didn't watch that with everyone.
Oh,
we
okay.
watched it here at the center based on a true story. But anyway, we watched The Room the first Saturday night, and this past Saturday night we watched The Shack. And so our desires this week are all going to be that we're looking at are all going to be coming from the movie The Shack. So before we, now that I've explained that, let's go ahead and begin with the light, infinite light of being. And we're also going to have the miracle, be looking at the miracle worksheet if you have it available. And it's instructions given by Jesus that are just beautiful about joining. And so you can find that on our webpage and on the Joining in Light app. So we looked at desires from this movie, and there were so many desires in this movie, The Shack, around feeling abandoned by God. And as I was praying earlier and asking which desire we could look at tonight, I was given the desire for an experience that makes it seem that God is not here when I need him. And that was certainly true of the main character in this movie, a father named Mac, who really felt that God had totally abandoned him and abandoned his family, his daughter. So I'll repeat the desire a number of times. I've got it in print in front of me, but just so we don't forget it. So Jesus, show us the relishing of this desire for an experience that makes it seem that God is not here when I need him.
Yes, I have this desire.
Yes, I have this desire. And what I'm hearing, what he's saying is that every time something goes wrong and something doesn't go according to how I want it to, fairly quickly, if not immediately, I'm wanting to say, okay, God, where are you when I need you? Or I want to blame God because something's going wrong.
Mm-hmm. And could you repeat the desire again?
Sure. Desire for an experience that makes it seem that God is not here when I need him.
Mm.
what he's showing me is that I think I need God when I think something is going wrong.
Oh, yeah.
Otherwise, thank you very much, but I don't need you right now. I'll check in with you when I
Yeah.
need you. But when
I'll
I
just-
need you, I want you here.
Yeah, I determine what I need and that, you know, that I know better.
Yeah. And it makes it sound like kind of a variation of what I was just hearing, that I don't need God all the time, just when I need him. That's
Mhm.
when I need God.
Yeah.
Kind of a narrow window there of when I can connect with God, when I need him.
Yeah, that doesn't it's like denying that I need him all the time.
Yeah.
That I need him
Selective
all the time.
needing.
Huh?
Selective needing.
Yeah. So I can prove that he's not here. So
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
God isn't really on my side because he's not here when I need him.
Mm.
What I'm hearing is that, of course, I determine when I need and don't need God. And so I've already made up that some situations are more difficult than others. And when they're difficult, that's when I need God. So I'm trying to run the whole show
Mm.
and then blaming God because he's not here when I need him.
Mhm. Not seeing when I'm not at peace, not really seeing those times when I'm not at peace, and so those don't seem like, in those times it doesn't seem like I need God, but then when I notice that I'm not at peace, then it's still wanting to deny that I'm not at peace.
Hmm. So just relishing the desire for an experience that makes it seem as though God is not here when I need him.
Mhm. Yeah, I hear, God's not welcome. I'm not really welcoming God. I'm just flat out saying no.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
You can't be here when I need you, then don't bother.
Mm,
That's what one voice is saying.
mm.
So the one that feels abandoned, and one that feels separated from God.
I hear also, and I'm not sure if this is another desire, but inconsistency to claim that God is, or to want to prove that God is not consistent.
Mm.
Mm. Are you hearing release?
I'm hearing more holding than release right now. There's some of both going on. Just looking as we have already at the ridiculousness of expecting that God's going to show up when I need him, and I'm the one that created the crisis, or at least am interpreting it as a crisis, and then now it's time for God to show up. It's like I'm a little dictator or something. It's just kind of funny.
Yeah, I'm willing to see that I'm miscreating the need. That's a decision that I want to have that experience of needing God, but claiming that it's like blaming him for the need that I need him, like being upset that I need him.
Yeah, I'm hearing really wanting to be autonomous.
Mm-hmm.
God.
Yeah.
So relishing the desire for the experience that makes it seem that God is not here when I need him.
Yeah. Was there anything from the movie that like stood out, where that came, like that brought that up, or
Yeah, it was pretty obvious that Mac, the lead character, really relished this desire because of God wasn't there for him or his daughter when God was needed most.
Mhm. Yeah, it is like that discernment of uh, mm, of it's like a discernment of the of judgment. Um,
In what way?
like letting Jesus, seeing, giving the judgment to him, giving the interpretation to him.
Yeah, that's kind of jumping ahead to the miracle. Yeah. When we're ready to do that, we're definitely ready for a miracle. So let's go deeper. Jesus, show us, see how far down can we go to see how deep the relishing of this desire is, to want the experience that God is never here when we need him. Yeah, he's just showing me that when something quote unquote goes wrong and I'm praying or asking for help, if it doesn't go the way I think it's supposed to, then I make the assumption that God isn't here when I need him because it didn't go the way I thought it should go.
Mhm.
What are you hearing about the relishing?
Just wanting to hang on to the out picture, of what God being here for me is.
Hmm. Yeah.
So there's like an energy of wanting to keep the judgment or the interpretation.
Yeah, what that brought up for me was my expectations about how God is supposed to be. You were just mentioning that, how, what is God supposed to be?
Yeah.
And just looking at the expectation or the belief that when things go bad, God's supposed to be here for me is a big assumption about how God is. And that starts to crack open all the assumptions I have about God, how God is supposed to be.
Hmm.
And God is supposed to be here for me when things get bad. And if he doesn't show up the way I want him to, that just proves that God doesn't care, or God isn't really there, or whatever I want to make up about that.
Yeah, I see like it's a demand for him to fix my problem.
Yeah, to perform.
Yeah.
God is supposed to perform a certain way. He's supposed to fix things that are bad.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a fixing. Yeah. Like I generate the problem, and then I want to also determine or demand what the solution is going to be. And it involves like putting the decision that to um, to have a problem out of awareness. I put that out of awareness.
That I have a problem.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And sometimes the problem shows up, and that's when I expect God to be there, because, my son was just in a car crash, or whatever. My boss didn't give me the raise I wanted. That God needs to be there at those times. That's a problem.
Yeah, for me, it feels like a fix it, like I want him to fix something.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that like points to that I want to fix. I want to fix it. I want to be the one who's solving the problem.
Hmm.
Like it kind of like I got this handled, sort of.
Yeah. I'm hearing
Yeah.
something a little bit different than that, and that
Uh-huh.
I think I can handle it, and I want God to fix it.
Oh, you can't handle it. And yeah.
I can't handle it. God's got to fix it. And if God doesn't fix it, then I don't want anything to do with God. But it's all about me and my interpretation.
Yeah. Those two seem to be kind of like, both sides, different sides of the same coin, like wanting him to fix it and
Not
wanting to fix it. And yeah. Yeah. Mm.
Jesus, what more would you have us see about the relishing of this desire, that for the experience that God is not here when I need him? I noticed that what he's showing me now is that, or what I'm hearing is that I have this belief about God that anytime anything goes wrong, that's his job. His job is to come in and make it right, make it easy, make me happy, fix it.
And I was just kind of wondering about how Mac, demonstrated like he went through a transformation. It was like he, at some point in the movie, he chose forgiveness. He chose to forgive the man who, well, I won't give away the whole story, but
He was able to see finally that God was there for him,
yeah.
although the movie had a somewhat different interpretation of that I'm used to, or that I embrace, that that God interferes or intervenes or something like that, or can't, or chooses not to. Matt came to the place where he saw what it was doing to him and his family not to forgive.
Mhm. Yeah, and you see how he has to make that decision a couple times in the movie, where he kind of starts hanging on to the he wants to keep that, the desire that we're looking at.
He wants to keep the grievance against God.
Yeah, the grievance. Yeah, he wants to keep the grievance, and he has to be shown, more than once, that it's okay to let it go.
The grievance is creating hell for him, creating his own hell. So back to the relishing of this desire that God is not there when I need him. Jesus, what more do you want us to see with this desire? What I'm also hearing right now is that with this desire, it's almost I know better than you, God, and you're not performing the way I think you should, so I'm firing you. You're not the God I want. It's all me, 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 and the way I see things. And that's what Mac had to come to see, that he had a particular viewpoint, and he was, as the different characters in the movie pointed out to him, he was looking at everything through this narrow little peephole of grief and anger.
Yeah.
And so he couldn't see anything else but grief and anger.
Yeah. One of the symbol of the father, the papa, says, when you have this pain, you can't see anything. Yeah.
And the same for us. If we have this idea of God that he's supposed to show up and fix everything whenever something doesn't go according to the way we want it to, then that's the little hole through which we see everything. And it really is not a very, so we get angry at God because he didn't meet our expectations. So Jesus, is there another way of seeing this? Are we willing to look at another way of seeing this? Or are we still holding on to this desire to see God this way, as never being present when we need him? It seems ridiculous to have such an expectation of God that he's never here for me when I need him. And I've made it all up. Some upset comes up and I make up that, okay, now God's supposed to fix it.
Yeah, I'm hearing just wanting to keep it conceptual. To keep the concept that I have of God.
Yeah.
and then maybe we could look at what's the value in that. What what's
What's it getting us?
yeah.
What it seems to be getting us, what I'm hearing is that whenever the going gets tough, we're going to get rescued by God. So we never have to really look at anything very deeply.
Hmm.
If somebody's always going to rescue us, then, or
Mhm.
we think we expect God to rescue us, and then we don't think he is.
Mhm.
There's just
Yeah, it's
continual
like
disappointment and feeling let down.
he can't agree with us. Or there's just no way. Yeah, it's just he
No
just
way
doesn't he just does not agree with that.
that that's who he is.
Mm.
God doesn't agree that that's who he is, a rescuer, somebody who's going to come in and save us every time we ask him to.
Mhm.
We'll have to ask Jesus. Jesus, is that the
Yeah.
God? Is that God that comes in and rescues us every time we want him to? What I'm hearing is the answer is no. That would make everything real. That would make all our upsets real, all our interpretations real. If God was some sort of rescuer from all our problems.
Yeah, it's like
And what I'm hearing too,
oh.
again, it puts us in charge. We're always in charge because we're always judging. Oh, this is when God should help me out. Oh, this is a tough problem. This is when I need rescuing. We're constantly usurping the power, trying to usurp the power of God. My interpretation is better than God's. So, Jesus, are we right in viewing God this way? Is this what God is? That kind of God would just be so dependent on the interpretation of man, of mankind. There's no way.
Yeah, the main character, is arguing with God.
Yeah.
He's arguing with God until he gets to that point where
He chooses to forgive, to look beyond what seems to be terrible loss and terrible grievance.
mhm.
So Jesus, is there a way for us to look beyond this desire that God has to be there every time I want him, or he's never here when I need him?
He lets bad things happen. He allows them.
Yeah, what I'm hearing is that I'm just so sure I know what all this means and what it should look like, what God should look like, what an upset should look like, when God should save me and when God should just keep his hands off. I put a lot of restrictions on God. It's like I will hardly let any little glimmer of possibility of seeing this another way to my mind. And that's how Mac was.
Mhm.
He would not accept. It took him a lot of opportunities for forgiveness. His father,
Mhm.
this perpetrator supposedly of a crime against his daughter, himself. Jesus, is this the kind of God we want? Who will just jump every time we say jump and try to bail us out of situations we don't like? I'd like to see a different God than that. That kind of God doesn't sound very appealing.
I don't know. I hear that there's, we need to see the pleasure we get from that. That
God's not fulfilling my expectations.
yeah, but like to see the pleasure in the desire, the like full wanting of that. And then I don't know if we like what I hear is to go back to, the value of it. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, what I'm hearing, I guess by saying what I was hearing there, is just really starting to get the ridiculousness of the expectations I have about God, and that I'm willing to see this a different way. That this is impossible. to have a God like that, who's just going to show up when I want him to fix my problems.
Mhm. Yeah, that's heaven.
Well, I'm moving towards a miracle. I'm moving
Yeah.
towards accepting of wanting to see it a different way. Jesus, are we ready to see this differently? Are we ready for a miracle? I hear yes. There's no particular reason for that.
Mhm.
It's just like, okay, yes.
Yeah, it's like the desire is not getting me what I want. It's not really a solution.
And there's really no reason about it all.
Mm.
There's no figuring it out. It's just,
Yeah.
it's just, okay, yes, I want to see this differently. Jesus.
Yeah. It's like there's really nowhere else to go. Just kind of.
I could just keep going the way I was. Or, yeah, okay, I want Jesus to show up when things need fixing. If he doesn't, forget it. I could stay there. What is that saying that comes up in some of the light circles, the lessons that Kay does, where the best thing to do when you're in a desert is to get out. What are you hearing about holding and releasing of this desire?
Mm.
So our time is up,
Okay.
and we're going to honor our time here. So let's just check in and see, ask Jesus, what is there anything else we need to see right in this moment? Yeah, what I'm hearing, what he's saying is that more is being accomplished here than we recognize. This willingness to look and stay on it,
Mhm.
back to it and look at it again, that it may not seem like much is happening, but we don't know anyway unless we ask him. We don't know. Our advances from our retreats.
Mhm. Yeah. It's been feeling like release, and seeing that happiness cannot be found. Like fully admitting that the happiness that is here, that's always here, can't be found it can't coexist with the desire that God's not here when I need him. It's either the happiness is always here, or there's the denial. There's the denial that the happiness is always here. So it's just like a very firm, the happiness is always here. And then just to stay with any residual, kind of
hanging on to or clinging to God's supposed to be a certain way.
Yeah. Because it's like a reminder, I'm here, and like you're saying, about the desert, it's very like direct, just to see it that way, like and say no to the unhappiness, the denial of it, the denial of supreme happiness. It's where,
saying no to the desire that God is never here for me, that God has to perform a certain way. Hey, thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Renee.
Thank you. Okay, I'll see you mañana, tomorrow night, for